So I've gone through and checked the fit of everything. I've cleaned out the slots and I've just dry fitted these all these parts together. At the moment I'm not gluing in these end pieces. That will be one of the last things to get glued and attached to this after the circuit boards are all in place. So everything's dry fitted together, which is good because it keeps it all together. So you can choose to either pick out these little links, these 4 links, and glue them back in while this is holding it all in alignment, and then glue this, or you can do it the other way around. I'm going to see which comes out easiest as to which I will do. I think it's going to be this way around. Being on a flat surface, it does have a tendency to bow up. That will be corrected at a later point. So now we can set about gluing these into place. These have been designed with a slight taper. It's not really that much, it's only about 2 degrees of taper in order to tighten as they get pushed home. Now I'm fortunate that my printer has a textured print bed. I don't know whether you can catch that on the reflection. There's a texture on one side and then the standard sort of 3D printed look on the other. So I know that this textured side faces up towards me. But it's something to be mindful of. If you don't have that sort of thing on your print bed, you just need to be careful. So now I'll just leave that for a few minutes for the glue to go off and to set enough, and then we will do this central bit. Well, that took way too long to set. Seems my fit up is not as close as super glue would like. But as I can't find my hot glue gun, we're just going to persevere. But we're going to focus on dropping the glue in areas where I know there is contact. And that is specifically in the corners. And then I'll just put a couple of dabs around about, and then we shall apply it and put some weight on it, and that should hopefully do the job. Oh, that's far too much glue. And we shall leave that to set up, and then next we'll be putting in the circuit boards, and I'll show you how I'm going to fix those in place. So now we get to the point of actually being able to put in some of our circuit boards. These can slide in, or they can also just clip in. It's quite straightforward. Get them all the same way, and then it makes things easier. So in the design, I get this one here. If I bring it up a bit closer, hopefully it'll focus on that. You can see we've got little mounting holes. It's easier to see on this end, which is open. So we've got the mounting holes. You can, if you want, use like a little self-tapping screw to attach the circuit board. You can leave the circuit board as it is. I just use this blank one as an example. It does grip the circuit board, but what I'm going to do is a form of a heat stake, just using my 3D pen, which had turned itself off there. Once it gets back up to temperature, we shall basically fill down into these holes and then a little bit above, and then just squish them down with probably my finger. That's why I'm wearing gloves. Just add that little bit extra protection. So it's just a case of shoving down into the hole. There we go. They're not coming out, so I just need to go through and do the same on the rest of these, and then it'll be on to wiring these up and just joining acrossways the links. So I'll bring you back whenever I start doing that wiring. Before we actually solder up all the power connections on this series of boards, I want to get the main incoming power cable. Now remember I said about these long pieces, they're like the end caps, that I had designed these. There's a hole that runs up the length of this, and they're blanked off at the end. You can just see the recess there. That's just very thin. You could probably punch through it or use a knife. I just used a drill, the same size as the outer sheath of my cable. So that's done on this end. Now, this is a prototype, so changes may be made. I haven't actually made any provision for strain relief on the cable, which of course is important. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use just a cable tie to be able to form some form of strain relief. So I've pushed the cable up. It will eventually come out through that middle hole. That's where I'm going to and just cut it off flush. So now I can glue this piece in place at the end, at this side here. Let me just temporarily put it in. This is probably easier to put in before getting these circuit boards fixed in place, because it is a bit tight in there for space. At the moment I'm just doing a test fit. I think I may have to loosen the middle row of circuit boards. One moment, please. Okay, so that's going really, really easy. Not. So I don't want to temporarily put this in, only to have to take it back out again. So I'm just going to glue this. And that way when I force it in and break it, at least it'll be fixed broken. Right, now we just got to let the glue set up, and then we can carry on breaking this into something useful.